When I think about the future, I envision myself as a lifelong learner and leader in a career dedicated to promoting nonviolence, compassion, and justice. I believe in a future free of systematic oppression, where racism, sexism, and speciesism no longer exist, and where all people have opportunities to be happy and successful. I believe in a future where people born into economically disadvantaged positions have real opportunities to live healthy, productive lives. I believe in a future where the well-being of our environment is considered more important than short-term corporate interests. I believe in a future where cows, pigs, and chickens are given equal moral consideration as cats and dogs. I believe in a future where systems of industry and commerce do not contribute to suffering and oppression around the world. I believe this is our future, and that the only way to make this vision a reality is through nonviolence. The idea of committing my life to promoting nonviolence might sound unrealistic or naive to you. Many people believe violence is simply a part of life. You look at examples from history, and you realize that we could not have prevailed against Nazi Germany and Japan in World War II without the use of force. You look at nature, and you realize that a lion cannot survive if it does not hunt, kill, and eat its prey. Well, the truth of the matter is, sometimes violence is necessary. You might need to use physical force to defend yourself from harm, for example. In these cases, violence is morally redeemable. However, when we consent to a culture and to a way of life in which violence is embedded, and we accept that violence as an inevitable fact of life rather than as a choice, then violence becomes a significant problem. So what is nonviolence anyway? When you hear the word nonviolence, it can evoke mental images of hippies sitting around in a circle, singing along to an acoustic rendition of Jimi Hendrix. In reality, though, nonviolence is simply the use of peaceful measures to bring about social and political change. This definition puts nonviolence in a more meaningful context and reveals its true purpose. Nonviolence is a tool for social change. We live in a world full of conflict, produced by social and historical forces, and nonviolent measures are needed to bring about enduring peace. Nonviolence is the only path to break down the fear, the hatred, and the misunderstanding that underlies systematic oppression and protracted conflict. Every day, you have the power to make choices that shape our world, and no choice you make is more profoundly impactful than what you eat. Over 150 billion animals are killed every year for human consumption. The average American eats almost 300 pounds of meat a year, along with over 600 pounds of dairy. The vast majority of these animal products are made in intensive factory farming operations. Animals raised in these horrific conditions suffer throughout their lives. They are mutilated shortly after birth and then crammed into dark spaces so small that they cannot engage in natural behaviors as they await their ultimate fate in the slaughterhouse. Right now, you might be thinking, eating farmed animals is just part of the natural order. In reality, though, what distinguishes an animal you see as food from an animal you see as family? This raises the issue of speciesism, which is the belief that species are fundamentally different from one another and that some species are superior to others. The concept of speciesism is closely tied to racism and sexism, not because human and animal suffering are the same, but because the mechanism of oppression is the same. In all three cases, privilege and power are distributed along arbitrary lines of distinction. I'm not saying that all species are the same, but rather that farmed animals have the same capacity for suffering as dogs and cats, and as such, they are worthy of equal moral consideration. As long as speciesism exists, and as long as we continue to raise and slaughter sentient animals by the billions, oppression and suffering will be prevalent in our world. When we make choices that cause suffering, whether the victim is a human or an animal, we all suffer. By making vegan choices, you can help reduce the pain and suffering of countless animals over your lifetime. But the impact of vegan choices goes well beyond the treatment of animals. Animal agribusiness is a main contributor of water pollution, natural resource consumption, and environmental degradation. By making vegan choices, you can help protect vital natural resources and reverse environmental damage caused by animal agribusiness. Today, With a continuously growing population, our world is more fragile than ever. By some estimates, if we choose to continue with animal-based diets, the Earth's carrying capacity will fall short of 10 billion. That means by the year 2050, we would be pushing the absolute limit of the number of people the Earth can sustain. If we cannot find a way to sustain ourselves and preserve the natural resources we need to survive, violent conflict is inevitable. Making vegan choices is the most effective way to avert this disastrous future. I believe that humans are innately good. We value justice, kindness, and compassion. When we make vegan choices, we are living those values, not just for one race, sex, or species at the expense of another, but for the entire planet. Making vegan choices is the most simple and powerful way for us to promote nonviolence in our world. The future is nonviolent. The future is compassionate. The future is vegan.